Linny.
Hi, Nancy.
Welcome to episode 131 of the Front Porch Book Club.
The Front Porch Book Club is a podcast that meets twice a month.
We like to dig deep into the relationship between characters and the worlds they live in.
Grab your book and iced tea and join us on the front porch.
So, Linny, I understand you had an audition while you were in Ireland and have since done that particular acting gig. How much can you tell our listeners?
Well, you know, Nancy, because it's all so top secret, I have one of those do not disclose agreements.
Yes.
And so I'm not allowed to disclose much. But I will say it's sort of like a Judge Judy kind of thing. And it was all improv.
That's amazing.
I had so much fun doing it. And I put my pictures out there on Facebook. Because we weren't allowed to take any pictures inside the courthouse where our gig was taking place, but outside. And we just had so much fun. It comes up from the inside, it poured out.
So they gave you, okay, here's who your character is. Here's the situation. Now just improv.
Yeah. And the judge is going to ask you whatever. And so you're going to have to come up with answers, whether it's a part of the court case or not. Just roll with it.
Wow.
Just be completely authentic and completely believable. And so I mustered it up, Nancy. And I created a person. It was just so much fun.
So what do you think you prefer, having a script or doing this improv kind of work?
The improv was so fun. I prefer that.
Wow.
And I don't know where I would ever have the opportunity to do it again. But you know me, I was talking to everybody. And everybody that was doing this and they were coming back out from the courtroom into where our holding station was like, that was so much fun. I prefer doing this rather than memorizing lines all day.
Wow.
Everyone had such a positive experience. It was very creative and spontaneous. And I worked with really great people and the crew was really laid back. They made it really approachable. Now that I've done a lot of these gigs, like the camera can kind of be imposing.
Yeah.
A little bit, the lighting, the sound, all the tech people, everybody staring at you. This was because it was in a courtroom and they wanted it more to flow. They had lots of cameras up around. The whole time they didn't even do any cuts for our scene. We just rolled with it the entire time.
Wow.
And so it was very fluid. I kept thinking somebody's going to say, what? No, cut. What are you? Don't go down that rabbit hole. But we just rolled with it. We were there the day before and we didn't get to do our thing because it ran out of time and we had to come back the next day. We spent a lot of time, my little family that was going to court. We did get to know each other quite well. We didn't talk about the script. They really didn't want us really saying, okay, what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do about this?
Yeah.
They just wanted it to just flow. And so that's what we did. So we just chit-chatted and got to know each other and talked and had fun and found out about each other's lives. We had a great time.
You have now jumped over into these speaking roles where before you were extras, you were background. And now here you are with speaking roles in these.
I know it's going to be a TV pilot. At least we hope so. They filmed, I think, 5 or 6 of us. And I don't know if it goes out as a chunk, like here, you can buy this chunk. And then Netflix or whoever buys it and then if people watch it and they like it, they ask for more. But I'm hoping that it gets picked up and that we can all see me on TV and laugh and have a good time. But I did audition for it in Ireland. And then I found out that I got the part while I was in Ireland. So that was super cool. And Nancy, I got one more speaking part. I'm going to be a doctor on a jury stand. So I have that role this summer as well. And then I have a third speaking part in September as a social worker. So I have a couple of gigs lined up now that I'm doing, and I've broken out of that background thing. I don't want any pressure. This little script here is 3 pages. That's long enough. That's long enough. That's feeling like a little bit of pressure. And I have a month to memorize it. And only half of those lines are my lines, you know?
Were you a celebrity on your Ireland tour, having auditioned and then gotten a role in this TV pilot?
Because I found out the day before I think we left, Some people did find out that I did it, and because I was like, "Oh, I got an audition tonight," but I ended up not telling a whole lot of people.
Uh-huh.
I like being around creative people, and the more I do it, the more confident I was. So, when I did my first live audition to get this doctor role for my next speaking part, I had to do self-talk. Linda, everyone I've met in the film industry has been kind, nice people. These people are going to be kind and nice to me too. I'm just going to have a good time. This is just for fun and it's a good learning experience. Take it for what it is and then go out to lunch afterwards. Everything's going to be okay. Where would I like to go to lunch?
Right.
So that helped me to calm down and I think do a really good audition for them. Enough about my gigs. I want to know about how you're doing with tennis
Oh, okay.
because
Well,
it's in the middle of tennis season now.
it is. Actually, we just finished our USTA league, which is like a late spring, early to midsummer, and my team was undefeated.
Wait a minute. By team, you mean you and your partner?
No, we're a team of 12 or 15 ladies. Every match, there are two people playing singles matches, and there are
Oh.
three doubles matches going on. So 6 of our team members playing doubles matches. And then whichever team wins the majority of those 5 matches, they win then that overall team match.
So now you're undefeated. So that must mean you're moving up the ladder to another regional situation.
Well, this team will next go to districts. If we win districts, then this team will go to regionals. But my winter team is going to that season's regionals in August.
So you're on 2 winning teams. You'll go in August, and if you win the districts and you win again, then there'll be something in the fall.
There will be, another regionals. And I don't even know the date of when the regionals are for this particular league.
Well, that's pretty exciting. Congratulations. Do you have to use self-talk?
Of course I do. Ever since we talked to Dr. Larry Widman.
I know that book was good.
Yeah. I've been using self-talk, and I often, when I start getting really nervous, I remind myself I'm doing this for fun and exercise.
And to look good in those little skirts.
I did recently get a very cute little tennis dress. I don't have a lot of tennis dresses, but this one's very cute. So, yeah.
That's worth it right there.
Right. Exactly.
And lunch afterwards. Or just a chocolate shake.
Well, we have a great, gritty, genre-bending book this month called Lady X, and it's by Molly Fader. It's a brand new book just being published on July 14th. So, new release.
Yeah, and Lady X, the search for a notorious vigilante, exposes the secrets among 3 generations of women from current day, like contemporary Los Angeles, to going back to New York City in the 1970s.
So in the contemporary LA part of the book, Margot Cooper has just learned that her A-list actor husband has sent explicit photos to multiple girls on social media. Margot flees to her childhood home in Pittsburgh, PA, with her teenage daughter in tow. In a cardboard box in the corner of the attic, she and her sister find evidence that their mom was somehow a part of the vigilantism of Lady X.
But at the same time we're reading chapters on this, we're also reading chapters from 1977 in New York City. One of the characters, Ginger Dockery, has 2 roommates, and one is assaulted. They are amazed at the lack of response in police, and the women decide to engage in some payback, signing their handiwork as Lady X.
But Lady X becomes a movement that spirals out of their control with more violence under the guise of Lady X. When a body is found fallen or pushed from 5 stories high, the hunt reaches a boiling point.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
So very interesting story, a dual storyline. Lots of interesting characters, a murder mystery, New York City back in the 70s. It reminded me a little of The Midnight Show.
Absolutely.
So, all of those parallels, completely different book, though. This was not humorous at all.
No.
Whereas The Midnight Show, there was some fun there. I'm curious to find out which storyline, if either, did you enjoy most? The current one in LA and Pittsburgh with Margot and her cheating husband, or this one set back in New York City with Ginger and her girlfriends?
I love Ginger and her girlfriends.
Okay, tell me why.
Well, I just loved going back to 1977, New York City. These are three girls who didn't know each other previously. They become roommates. So you're learning about their backstories and how they come to really love one another and all of the challenges that they're facing as young women in a city at that time that was really a very dangerous city. It was dangerous from violence. It was dangerous because there are just a lot of predatory men all around them, taking advantage of their youth and their beauty and their naivete. And I could just feel this feminine rage starting up within them when they start looking around saying, well, we should not be treated like that. Why do I have to do that? Why do I have to put up with someone touching me, yelling at me, expecting me to do certain favors to get a job, all kinds of things? And they are really good at encouraging one another and saying, yeah, that's not right. You can see how when the first Lady X incident happens, why it happens, you can see it happening. And then that sort of overcomes a barrier in their minds for them to say, well, maybe Lady X needs to make another appearance. And you can just see how and why they start taking justice into their own hands. And I just thought that was so fun to follow along these young women becoming more and more empowered.
I thought the same thing.
Did you?
I did. I really like those girls. They have no power. They are young girls. None of them is successful yet. One wants to be a dancer. One just wants to find her sister. She has no skills.
Right.
One has some skills and is going to start using those skills. So she develops a voice, but they all come in with not a lot of power. And so, in that power differential between them and a lot of the males that they're encountering, they're starting to see the things they shouldn't have to tolerate. And I like the arc of each one of their characters.
Yeah.
Now, when I'm looking at those characters and going, oh, girls, don't, no. But I'm looking at it from a 64-year-old woman.
Yeah.
You know, and these are young girls and they're still trying to figure out, like, how do you pay the rent and what would proper nutrition be looking like for me today?
Right.
It's maybe not a tab for breakfast, which I still do a Diet Coke for breakfast. So I don't have a lot to speak from, but they're still trying to figure things out. But I am hopeful and I'm pulling for them that they're going to put a line in the sand and say, stop.
Right.
Where when I'm looking at the current day situation and I am looking at this husband doing what he's doing and Margot tolerating it, and she's in her 40s, I'm becoming frustrated with her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad she has a sister who is pulling her along, but her sister at the same time is pulling some power away from Margot, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And Margot is now relying more on her sister and wanting not to please her sister, but she's not quite standing up either. So as family dynamics are, it's complicated. But I became frustrated more with Margot. I wanted Margot to succeed. I wanted her to stand up to him. I was proud when she did and she left, but it was frustrating for me to see her struggle with still having strong feelings for him and then wanting to go on TV to support him. Your husband has done this to you and your children, embarrassed the heck out of all of you. Why in the world would you feel that you need to go on TV with them and hold their hand and say anything encouraging or supportive? I mean, I wouldn't, but I know a lot of women that do.
Yeah, Margot in her 40s with adult children still hasn't learned some of the lessons that her mom and mom's roommates learned in their very early 20s.
Right. Because what we don't know when we're reading this is Ginger, who was one of the roommates, ends up being her mother.
Right.
And so they're like, why are we finding this diary and all these articles? What's going on here?
And here's a picture from an old newspaper clipping
That's
about
Mom.
Lady X. And yeah, that looks like Mom when she was that age.
What's Mom doing here with a spray can in her hand? Which I love the cover of the book. I thought the cover was really good.
Oh, do you know what? I was going to say also, the cover is so great. It's this black background, and then in a variegated purpley red lady with a huge X, and a gal who is definitely a silhouette of a 70s gal because she's kind of got some bell bottoms and some long hair happening and a spray can in her hand. Really excellent. Lady X is a fictional vigilante, but Ginger's story is set during the summer of the real Son of Sam murderer. And Son of Sam is mentioned throughout her story. And I think it does help reinforce the danger of the girls' lives in New York City at that time. So Son of Sam was David Berkowitz, and I did not even have to look his name up. I remember that from that time period and the terror of those days. So between 1975 and 1977, he killed 6 people and wounded 11 others around New York City. And while he was on his crime spree, he sent mocking letters to the New York City Police Department and reporters. He was finally arrested in August of 1977, and he claimed he killed on the orders of a demon who lived in his neighbor's dog, and his neighbor's name was Sam. So I was wondering, do you remember the fear around all of those attacks in New York City in 1977?
Yeah, I remember Son of Sam. I never would have remembered the name of Son of Sam. I think it wasn't surprising to me because it was New York City. It seemed kind of removed from any terror that I would be feeling personally. But yes, I do remember Son of Sam. Why I liked it in this book was because it showed you that the Son of Sam got a lot of hype for what he was doing. But the girls, the rapes, all of the crimes against women and police brutality, all sorts of things going on, Son of Sam was taking over everything, which it did. But all of these other crimes were not getting the publicity. And so I liked showing that again, as far as this is what gets a lot of press and media. This rape over here, it's kind of buried.
Yeah, it was almost used as an excuse sometimes. The officers would say, well, I don't have time for your little allegation against your boyfriend because you had some sort of a falling out. I'm looking for the Son of Sam murderer.
We've got some real problems here, lady.
Yeah, get over it.
Check yourself and don't walk around at night.
Yeah, and what were you wearing?
Yeah. So I liked how she brought that into the book to show another dimension, not only of New York, but also what was getting a lot of power and press.
As Lady X goes on, she does start getting more press.
Oh, yes.
And it is outraged men who are just saying, we have to get Lady X. She's on the loose. And then it almost becomes these men are more concerned about finding and prosecuting this woman who is spray painting.
Do we have a lot of spray paint in New York City? So, it's considered an art now.
Right. But that seems like it is more troublesome than Son of Sam. Now suddenly it's like, well, yeah, there's this guy that's murdering people, but there's a woman who spray painted rapist on my storefront, and we need to find her.
Yeah. And then all of the people that came to support that. And all of a sudden now we're blaming the victim here, and we're protecting the people that probably need the word rapist written on their storefront.
Right.
I like that part of it too. I thought that was really good. Okay, well, moving ahead with the book, one of the pivotal scenes is what happens with this murder, because it seems like right after this murder, then Lady X stops. So we're going back to the factual blackout, and I do remember the blackout in New York City that was August 14, 1977. This was a year after the centennial, when prairie dresses were in, because we all wanted to ride the Conestoga wagon like Laura Ingalls. So this was just 1 year after that. A lightning strike disables the grid, and there was a 24-hour blackout during a horrible heat wave. And there was robbery and crime and everything that was going on.
A lot of looting.
There's a lot of looting. There's a lot of fear. And Ginger and the girls are in New York, and not a good neighborhood. It's a dangerous city. There's some suspicion that these girls could be Lady X.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of laying low, and they've got some eyes on them, and they're scared.
Yeah. And the men that have their eyes on them are not men you would want to have eyes on you. There's a predatory neighborhood beat cop who has put two and two together.
He's harassing them. He's been assaulting them too.
Yeah, coming to their apartment.
Out of uniform. He has gotten suspended, so now he's really mad.
I thought it was fun that this book is about these women finding a way to protest against this officer, but also a boss, also a dance studio owner, also a rapist who is a bookstore owner. The systems that are supposed to protect them completely fail. And so that is why they feel like their only recourse is to try to let people know what's happening through these acts of vandalism. And then, yes, there's the blackout, and we find out there are several people who die during the blackout from things other than heat exhaustion. I think a number of people died from things like heat exhaustion, but there are a number of murders in the city at that time. And we do find that one of those murders is related to Lady X. So what did you think about all this feminine rage in this book?
That's an interesting way to put it. Feminine rage. I could understand the powerlessness that these ladies felt, and I could understand how they wanted to put the police officer in his place because they were afraid of him, and they didn't want him to be the beat cop. It sounded like a lot of the working women in the neighborhood didn't want him there either. There's a fear. He was hanging out with younger kids in the park. I don't know. He was a scumbag. I'm not a vandalism person. I live by the law for the most part. Besides some speeding tickets, I've been pretty clean. Violence is not an answer, ever, I don't think. Well, maybe sometimes it is. So I might walk back my words a little bit. I think I'm having a problem with the term feminine rage. I understand why they did what they did. In some ways, I was happy they did what they did. If I would have been there at the time, I would have said that Lady X, she's got some courage and power, and good for her. And yeah, that guy deserves what he got. It sounded like most of the people in the community knew who the scumbags were. And they were like, yeah, he deserves it. Yep, that's him. I'll go as far as to say that. Now I'm going to ask you, what did you think of the feminine rage?
I thought it was so beautifully presented. I did.
Okay.
Because these women, as you said, were truly powerless. So they found an outlet to try to obtain some justice of the injustices that they had personally experienced then that experience empowers them that they have the girlfriend whose boyfriend has beaten her up multiple times. Before Lady X, maybe they would have never tried to help her actively get out of that situation, but they do decide to actively try to help her get out of that situation. And that leads to them defending themselves, but some more violence. And then what happens during the blackout? They are defending themselves. So I think what they were doing was graffiti, which, let's face it, New York in 1977 was covered with graffiti. This is
Yeah.
not a major crime.
No.
This is something everyone was doing. The other activities that took place either were not done by them or were them truly defending themselves. So I think that this feminine rage was also really well presented because there are some demonstrations and some marches. What happens at those marches? There are men along the side catcalling, hollering, harassing the women. One of the women goes after them, and suddenly it's the women who are at fault, not the men who were instigating it.
Right.
So I thought it just showed the imbalance of expectations of what women can expect from the justice system and what men can expect from the justice system, and the differential in power, as you said, that women experienced certainly in the 70s, I would argue even today, and what men experience. So I loved it.
I'm glad you loved it. I think that's why we like Ginger and her roommates better.
Yeah.
I think we were cheering them on. I was scared for them at times because they did take it further than what I would have. They put themselves into very scary situations.
Mhm.
And by putting yourself in those very scary situations where you have to defend yourself means that you're going to be attacking somebody. And I'm not a physical person. I don't want to be killed and I don't want to be hit. But you have to do what you have to do to defend yourself. But you can also see why somebody is going to attack you if you're attacking them.
Or you're putting yourself in the situation where you're being attacked and you have to defend yourself,
Right.
is what I would say was the situation that they were in.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The boyfriend, they were in his apartment.
Yeah, they broke in. Well, they had a key.
You know, again, it's gray, but I was cheering those girls on every step. I was glad that they were doing that for their friend.
Because she needed help.
They were being a good friend by doing that. I would have probably done that. And I would have gone out there and gotten her stuff. And I wouldn't want anybody to put their hands on me. So I would try to figure out how to get away.
Yeah.
And I did not blame them for their altercations with the police officer either. In fact, I think Faye was a real hero in many of these incidences. She was really good at defending herself, staying her line, and not tolerating anything from anybody, even the police officer. She kind of knew where the line was and she wasn't going to let anybody cross it. And so I appreciated her character a lot and her strength a lot based on what she had been through. I liked her probably the best in this whole book.
Yeah, she comes into Ginger's and Rachel's life already with some very specific ideas of what she's willing to put up with and what she's not, which is good for the other two.
They grow because of Faye. They see what Faye's not going to tolerate. And then that helps them go, oh, but we are tolerating this. Maybe we don't need to tolerate this. The current story of Margot and her sister and her daughter, and then of these three friends back in the 1970s, there's a lot of feminine love in the book and women banding together because basically who else is going to do it? So the women draw strength from each other and they surround each other and support each other. Do you think that that's still a theme today, Nance?
Yes. I definitely believe women are stronger when they band together, and that we have a really important role in each other's lives to encourage one another, that we are helpful in checking in with one another about what is appropriate, what's not appropriate, that together we're stronger in calling out behavior that is inappropriate. I mean, I think about the Me Too movement, which has hopefully made permanent change in what society has said is okay for women to put up with. that with women standing up and saying, yeah, I've experienced this and it's wrong, and women supporting other women with that is very important. And then in terms of just love, yeah, I loved just the love between these friends because women form such great friendships. I think women especially know how to form good friendships. And it's not that they were all rosy cheery with each other. I mean, they called each other out, they put each other to task, they disagreed at times, but they formed a relationship that lasted their whole lives. And I loved the relationship between Margot and her sister Julia. And again, this wasn't a perfect relationship, as you mentioned, but you could see how they supported each other and wanted the best for each other and tried to help each other in the ways that they thought they could. And then love between mother and daughter and mom. So I thought this book had so many of those really wonderful relationships, and that those are the relationships that sustain so many women through their lives, that I loved seeing that in this multi-generational book.
Yeah, I liked that too. And that the bond that these young roommates made, that comes to fruition at the end of their lives too. I love the way she tied all of that together. Yeah, women have a unique way, I think, different than men, of how we provide support to one another and how we provide a community of people around us to support us. Thank goodness. I did like that theme. I thought it was very applicable, not only to the 1977 story, but in the current story as well, and how the author threaded that all together.
Yeah. I tell you, I cried at the end of this book because of that love and the love that you see at the end of the book.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Near the end of the book, Julia, Margot's sister, connects Margot to, and I'm quoting, friends and colleagues who were investigating stories about women who'd been hurt, trafficked, or had broken the glass ceiling in their field, had won gold medals, defied the odds, escaped horrific circumstances, were changing their communities, changing the world. So, this is one of the parts that I get choked up at. So, what did you think of Julia connecting Margot to these women and Margot being able to help the women that Julia was learning about?
Yeah, I think Margot needed something in her life to focus her attention on. She was kind of in the shadow of her husband, and she needed to find her voice. Thank gosh she did in the book.
Yeah.
But we know that that is a process for people. So we see her emerging in that. And then to learn a year later that she's still carrying on. She is now, not only has she learned that she has a voice for herself, now she can carry that out and help others, people have their voice heard too. I thought that was very, very beautiful. And I loved that her sister helped her do that and made that connection, the sisterly love.
Yeah.
And her sister is still out there advocating and pushing Margot along.
Yeah.
I love that.
Julia was a great character because she was a no nonsense gal, so much her mother's daughter.
Yes, absolutely. And Margot needed that. She needed to see, look, this is how my sister is feeling about this. I'm conflicted, but my sister
Right.
definitely feels this way. And my daughter feels this way. All of my children feel all these different ways. How do I feel about this? I feel conflicted. So I liked Julia's voice. She was probably my second favorite character, is
Yeah.
that sisterly love there.
I can
But
totally,
you see that?
I can totally see that. Yeah.
I loved the fact that she was still an important part of her sister's life, and she was still planting those seeds and watering those seeds to grow into Margot's life. She's pushing her in the right direction.
Hmm. In that same section of the book, we learned that Julia is starting a podcast.
I know. Isn't that fun?
Okay. But here's the thing that I thought was funny. This was like a throwaway sentence in the Julia starting a podcast paragraph of the book. She's hired a producer, an engineer, and a research assistant. And she was hoping she would be able to launch it in several months. Linny, how many staff do we have?
Staff of Nancy. Nancy is the editor.
It's just the two of us.
The director, the website designer, technical support.
We have no staff.
We have no staff. It's the staff of us. That's just us. That was hilarious reading all of that. Yeah, my guess is she's getting a salary too.
I suppose so, but that was impressive. I want to ask our author a little more about the staff that the podcaster has.
Yeah. Not our experience, but that's okay. We can cheer Julie on because we already like her.
That's right.
It did take us a long time to launch, though. That part was true.
Yeah.
A launch in several months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the fun side. The other part of this, Nance, is that women are not always supportive of one another.
Yeah.
Should we go there?
Yeah.
Okay. So one person in particular, Margot's assistant, who Margot considers like her right-hand lady.
Yeah.
She has been there. She is steering the ship. She knows what's going on. She seems like she's in her best interest.
Yeah.
She relies on her. She comes to her home. She turns out to be again, I don't want to give too much away.
Duplicitous.
Okay, that's one way of saying it.
Yeah.
Ginger, she puts Faye in a scary situation. Early on after we meet Faye, Faye needs a job. So Ginger has an idea of who might hire her. However, you are going to have to be compromised to get the job. And Ginger knows this because she compromised herself to get the job. And she looks the other way.
Yeah.
But the most disappointing part is a woman who is fully grown, who knows better. The principal of Margot's daughter's school runs across a sexual misconduct issue at the school regarding the daughter, and she takes no action.
Yeah.
And that was reprehensible.
Yeah.
So we see examples of that as well. I'm curious as to why you thought the author put that in there. This is not all Pollyanna. This is not comedy. This is what happens.
And I think that's why she put it in there. This is I've used the word gritty already in this episode. This is more realistic, more gritty than a Pollyanna-ish book would be. And so, no, it's not all rainbows and roses for women's relationships with what women do. You know, sometimes you'll say, oh, if women ran the world would be so much better. And I always disagree with that. I mean, women are human. We make mistakes. Ginger puts Faye in that situation. She knows it's a mistake before she does it, during it, and after it, but she still does it. And she can never even really bring herself to even talk to Faye about it. With what happens with Noelle, that happens all the time, right? What happens with the female principal, yep, that happened. Like, women make mistakes. Women have blind sides. Women can make terrible, terrible decisions. Women victimize other women. So I think that was part of the realism of this book, that, yeah, there are terrible men out there, but you know what? Women can be terrible too. So I liked that about the book. How about you?
Yeah, hard to read. Very disappointing. I understood it in Ginger's mind because she allowed this to happen to her, and on some level thought it was worth it for her to get the job. So she justified it like, oh, well, we have to do this to get a job. Okay. And Faye can handle it. She's stronger than I am. And, you know, you rationalize things. But for a principal to come up with that situation and not have had a stronger backbone with it was a tough pill for me to swallow. But you're right, it does happen. I love the fact that the author went there, and she did it, and she did it throughout the book. She did it across the generations of people, across the decades, and across the country from New York to LA.
Mhm.
She made her stance that this is what we do and this is what we're not doing. And the reader can draw from that what she chooses.
For sure. I read a review of Lady X at a site called Page Reviews Books. That's pagesmith.net. And I thought she captured this book so well. So I don't think we've ever done this, but I want to read a quote from her review.
Okay.
She says, Lady X is a heralding beacon in a bleak, dark, inky black night sky. It's timely in a way that this subject will never not be timely without radical, dramatic, civilization-altering change. It's pointed, it's aggressive, it's feral, and yet it's deeply soft, prodding the softness of your humanity and heart with fingers that gently turn your head and say, don't look away.
Oh, wow. That's pretty powerful. And I would agree. There is a feralness in both storylines, and there's a credible softness and support and love as well. So I like the gray. I don't ever mind gray.
Yeah.
A book allows you to go deep. It allows you to see into the shadows and why people are the way they are and all of that. I really like that about the book. I'm looking forward to meeting with our author and exploring more of those themes and what we thought of the book and what the author thought putting this together. I can't imagine that she is nothing but a very deep and introspective woman to have created an interesting story like this.
Yeah, definitely.
So Molly Fader's going to join us and we can talk a little bit more about this book.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Our website is frontporchbookclub.com.
Our episodes come out twice a month on the first and third Wednesday of every month.
See you next time, Linny.
See you, Nance.